Okay, so this is a video about prompting. It was prompted, the video, by looking at Civet AI prompts and what I call stupid prompts, mostly produced by large language models. It's really not that hard to write a good prompt. And if you have your prompt made by the LLM and you're doing text to image, what exactly is your role? I mean, all you're doing is pressing a button on a one-armed bandit and putting the coin in. That's all you've done. You haven't made an image or anything. Of course, that might not be true if you have a really rinky-dink workflow, and then you're editing and refining the resulting image and so on. So that is all creative. But if you're just putting a quick instruction to an LLM and then whacking it into Comfy and just posting the image out the other end, you're not really creating anything. So what I go through, and also the large language models are horrible prompts. In my opinion, they're horrible prompts, should I possibly say. So what I'm going to do here is the basics of prompting, and I'm prompting in Flux particularly. One, I don't use the multi T5, T1, clip L, etc. It really doesn't make a lot of difference. Getting a decent prompt in the first place makes a lot of difference, and altering the order in which you address the various clip models really doesn't make a great deal of difference. It doesn't make as much difference as getting the prompt right. So what we're going to do is to start completely on the fly. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm just going to do it and you'll see how it develops. So what we're going to do is write a very, very simple prompt, or type it rather. So it's going to be a landscape, which is our subject. It's going to be, it would help if I spelt properly, wouldn't it? Flux seems to have the clips seem to have a spell checker built into them. They don't seem to care about my terrible spelling. So we want to modify the landscape. So we want to say a wide landscape, and we'll get into the modifiers later. So that is our subject, and that is a modifier for our subject. So a landscape, and it's a wide landscape. So wide is attached to landscape. So I call this the subject. This is a modifier. So then we want something in our landscape. We could just do a landscape if you want, but we'll do a river, which is another subject, flowing in a deep gorge. So we can make the river winding. So we now have a wide landscape. Wide is the modifier for landscape. Winding, river. Winding is the modifier for river. Flowing in a deep gorge, we have two modifiers for gorge. And then we can say distant sea, and comma in there, and we're splitting the objects with a comma each time. So we've got another object there, sea, distant. Now these aren't quite separate objects. This is the overall object. So the landscape is a thing. The river, the gorge, and the distant sea are all subsets of landscape. So we want a sky, and we got sky and a clear sky. So that is a very, very basic prompt. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 objects, each with modifiers. So what we want to do now, we'll have 1024. I have a very cut down workflow here. My workflow is usually a horrible mess of noodles. I have no idea how this will turn out, but we're doing straight 1024, text to image. What will we get? There we are. So we look at what we've got. Let's bring our prompt around here, so we can compare the two. And this is the first thing you do with the prompt, really. So, wide landscape. Yes, we have we have a winding river. It winds, it winds, it winds. Distant sea. There it is over there, being distant. Flowing in a deep gorge. Distant sea. What we have everything we asked for. Now, that is the key with a prompt. If you don't have what you're asking for, then you've got too many words in there. Not that we won't have a lot of words in there eventually, but at first, start with as fewer words as you can describe your concept. Now, here we have a photograph, because I didn't say anything about what sort of image it was. So that's the next thing. So we'll start with that at the beginning, shall we, here? So we've got an illustration. Now, we could have a sort of illustration. So we'll say a painting on white paper. And you see it follows the same trend. We've got an illustration, which is the overall encompassing thing, and a painting on white paper. So paper is white, and a painting is an action. So this is our first action in it. So this is the sort of image it is. What is in the image? So let's see how that changes our image. Just because I'm making a video, it won't change at all. There we go. So we have the same thing. Do the check. We have an illustration, a painting. Yeah, it looks quite painted, doesn't it? Okay, and it's illustrative as well. So it's a very, very simple process. You have objects and modifiers, and you have objects nested within other objects. So illustrate has painting and white paper nested inside it, because this is all part of illustration. And the is the winding river, the flowing in a deep gorge, distant sea, clear sky, etc., is the all in landscape. It's all assumed in landscape. So what we could add now is a subject. So it would be really corny. So we've got a beautiful sorceress, and then we can modify her. So she has clothes. There are. So we've got robes, and they're silver and gold. So we've got the object and the modifiers. Then we'll give her a belt. So there's the belt and the modifier. We should be getting the hang of this now. And the modifier is leather. And we won't, initially, we could say more about her. Should we say more about her? Yeah, let's say she has long black hair, and maybe her expression will make her smile. And we need to change wearing. Now, Flux operates better with sentences. If this was SDXL, I would make this more of a list. But it is quite listy. But every part of it makes a proper sentence. People who put War and Peace go the full Tolstoy on prompts. Really, it's not going to look at that. You just run out of tokens, and it'll cherry pick the ones that have the greatest weight. So not that we won't put in some emotional and mood sections. We'll do that in a moment and see what they do. But anyway, so we have and then we have her action, and so she's standing on a rock, maybe. And now you see I've linked her now to our landscape. So we've got sort of painting, our subject, where she is. So huge rock. So this is associated with her. That's her action. That's how her action relates to the place. This is the place. And all of this here, beautiful sorceress. Beautiful is the modifier for sorceress. Long and black is the modifier for hair, smare. Wearing, I didn't say swearing there. Wearing silver and gold robes. Silver and gold is, and we've got several actions here. She is wearing, that's an action. She is standing, that's an action. She's smiling, that's an action. So we've got 3 actions, and we've got all the objects as well, and they're all encapsulated in sorceress. And then she is linked directly to our landscape. So let's see what that does. And there she is, standing on the rock. And then again, you do the check. She is. It's a painting on white paper. Beautiful sorceress. Isn't she nice? Good hands as well. Silver and gold robes. No, we don't have silver and gold robes. Do you see we haven't got silver and gold robes? We've got the gold. I suppose they might be silvery. It's a little bit, I'm not sure about that. So what I'll do to check that is so the gold, they are quite a silvery white. So what we'll do is wearing blue and silver, and then we'll run it again to check, because silver doesn't really have a colour. So we'll just check that we are actually getting the robes in the generation. There we go. And you see, we've still got beautiful sorceress, but now we have the blue and gold. And we should have everything. We have the huge rock, overlooking a wide landscape, the river's winding, seas in the distance, deep gorge. Yes, we have everything in our prompt. And you need to keep doing this. Check that you have what is in the words there before you start, acting like Alfred Lord Tennyson and writing sort of overblown descriptions and mood, etc. So what we could do now is maybe add some mood, and we'll see what happens when we add mood. So say it's fairy tale mood. We put a bit more than that. We'll maybe enchanting and magical. So these are what I call mood I actually put mood in there. I don't usually, but put a comma in there. So just you would want to put commas in just to decide which chunks, how it breaks up the chunks of the when it's breaking the prompt down. So we've added mood. So let's have a look, see if our mood changed our image. All these poetic words have less an effect than you might think. So everything has stayed the same seed. We haven't changed seed at all throughout this. So I've added all those words, magical, fairy tale, enchanting, etc., and it barely moved. The image hardly changed at all. So all of those poetic words really, they don't really make much difference. They make a tiny bit of difference. So we'll add some other ones. Let's try some other favourites, shall we? How about 8K? That's bound to work, isn't it? Hyper detailed. I see that quite a lot. Hyper detailed. So, okay, let's have a look what that does. As again, it barely twitched. Didn't get any more detailed. Didn't make it more intricate. It changed, but whenever you add words, you have to decide, did it change better or did it change worse? And really, it just changed. It was just a bit different. It didn't get any better. It didn't get any worse. So it means that all of these words we put in here, the 8K and the hyper detailed and all that stuff, really don't do anything at all. So what we could do is, let's just change this to dark, and you'll see what happens when you actually change one of the words that the model is looking at. The model is essentially ignoring all these words. So I've changed the mood here with the dark sky. So you see that was a big change that time. So it's not that you can't use mood, but you want to add the mood as in modifiers. So you could make the sorceress ancient and evil. So she's an ancient evil. And the landscape could be desolate. So we're adding mood, but we're inserting the mood into the prompt. The winding river is fine. The gorge could be jagged. And it could be a horror illustration. Again, you're changing the mood. These are all mood words. But I'm inserting them into the main text. We can leave the smile, maybe. The rock is cracked and black, maybe. Or granite. Call it a granite rock. And the sky could be stormy. Okay, so we've added our mood into the... So, we've got our beautiful sorceress, and she's going to change. Okay, let's run that and see if it made any difference at all. Once again, you see, very little. We have got some things. She has got a bit older. Things have got jagged. We've got our stormy sky. So why she hasn't changed is for a reason. And that reason is there. Long black hair. So if we change this to white, or even better grey, and let's see what changes. And there she is. So let's do our calculation. So we've got a horror illustration. Yeah, she's looking quite mean. I'm not quite convinced about the horror. But anyway, it's painting on white paper. Here we are, the white paper. Viewed for ancient and evil. Well, what do you think? Maybe. Blue and gold robes, present and correct. Leather belt, there's the leather belt. Standing on a huge rock, yep. Whether it's granite or not, it could be, couldn't it? And we've got a deep jagged gorge, we have. Distant sea, yes, look, distant sea. Dark stormy sky. So we've got everything in our prompt in our image. So at that point, I want to know, is that going to produce a consistent image? So if I move through the seeds, what happens? So we'll change seed and see what it does. And what you want is a good prompt will deliver everything in the prompt on just about every seed. Flux is very dependent on having a good seed, Flux, so some will be better than others. But there we go. We have lost something here. We lost the distant sea. Might be there, I suppose. And then I click through a few seeds, and I want to know how consistently it delivers an image that fulfills the prompt. Here we go again. Distant sea, just about. Okay, so if I want to see more sea, and this is the way prompts work, I can bring the sea back by adding a modifier to the sea. So I could say sparkling, and maybe the sea will come back. Maybe it won't, but usually if you say a little bit more about something, it'll bring it back. You need to give us some shoes. Flux loves to have toes peeping out underneath dresses. I don't know why. Excellent. So you see, our sea has come back, and our sorceress has gone away a little bit. And this is the case. If you describe the landscape more and more, then she will get smaller. We'll perhaps demonstrate that. It's very dangerous making predictions about AI image generation, because it'll... overlooking wide, deep jagged gorge with winter trees, and that will probably do. Maybe do winter trees. Maybe we'll add some waterfalls. So what I'm doing is adding stuff to the landscape. So I think that'll do. So we've added winter trees and waterfalls. So by making the landscape more described, you make her less important, which in theory should make her go a little bit smaller. No, she didn't move that much. That's okay. But we'll do another check. She has turned away from us a little bit. But you see how the image is getting nicer now? We got more mood and atmosphere going. So it's not that you can't put in mood and atmosphere, but don't just put a list of 8Ks and, magical and ethereal, and they like ethereal a lot, don't they? Because, they need to be embedded in the prompt as modifiers. We've added all those mood, but we've added them in there as modifiers attached to objects. So some of the objects now have quite a few. So the jagged gorge and the river have got waterfalls, and the gorge has got winter trees. There's the winter trees. And winter has had a big effect, you see. So winter is another modifier, and winter acts as a modifier for the whole landscape. So what we could, if we took that out from before trees, we could put winter landscape. And this is a process you can go through. So how is that going to change it? So we've changed the winter from the trees to the landscape as a whole. And you can play this game of shifting the modifiers around. There we go. So our trees, if you notice now, we are even more wintry, and the trees they've got their leaves back. So wintry was taking the leaves off the trees. We've got our waterfall. We have our distant sea. We have our grey-haired sorceress. She's developed boots from somewhere. And we have winter. So I think that pretty much covers prompting. So what I'll do now is I'll put in a silly prompt, the sort of prompt you find on Civet. We'll duplicate this one. So we've still got that one there. And we'll put a silly prompt in here. And I collect stupid prompts. Oh, here's a great one. Look at this. War and Peace. There's a few things in there. I don't know what these symbols are. We take them out. Look at that. Okay. Hold on to your hats. Now, not that this won't produce a nice image. It could very well do. There we go. Look at that. So how much of these words, is producing this image? So what we want to do, we'll go on a seed. Okay. So let's have a look at the prompt. So aerial view. Yeah, we'll keep that. Ancient flame, suspended highway, towering spires, colossal arteries. It's all good. Crystalline we don't need, I wouldn't have thought. Intricate we don't need. The architecture is medieval fantasy. We don't want ornate buttresses. Give me a break. Ancient civilization, yeah, that's fine. Heart of the citadel, grand fountain. Don't think the waters need to glow. It doesn't need to be adorned. Courtyard doesn't need to be elegant. Gardens don't need to be verdant. Pathways we want. Did we get marble statues? Start coming across things you don't have. No marble statues to be seen. I think we just dumped the marble statues. And the forgotten deities. I'm so sorry, forgotten deities. Events ring of... All right, we'll keep that. Right, then we get to the surrounding landscape. We'll get rid of all that. Floated islands, that's good. Each crowned with floating castles. No, we didn't get that anyway, so we can dump that. Well, ethereal. There's always ethereal in there somewhere. Floating islands. Well, floating islands disappearing into the mist. Oh, I quite like that. We didn't get the stairways anyway, so forget about them. And they're creating a network of aerial sanctuaries. Blimey. So we want cascading waterfalls? Yeah, I think we have them. And they're not fiery, we aren't mentioned before. No, that's all right. I don't think we need hidden lakes. Ethereal clouds. I'm going to get rid of that. So, okay, we've got a bit of... So you see where I'm cutting I'm more or less breaking. And the golden light filtering through the sky? Why does it have to filter through the sky? This is an LM prompt, I would imagine. I'm sorry if this is your prompt and you're mythical birds. Oh, here's a great bit. The mythical something of songs of distant songs of mythical birds. I think we can lose all of that. We might have the colour palette. You never know your luck. Casting a demon. So all of this, excellent. So all of that's rubbish. Right. There you go. So I've taken out an awful lot of words there, haven't I? I could probably take out some more. Let's have a quick look through. Because now you see we've got the foreground. We won't bother to correct that now, but the foreground's mixed up with the background and everything like that. So let's see how it changes. My God, it barely changed at all. But I took out all those words. I took out, well, far more than half of them. Okay, so let's see what else we can get rid of. That could all go. I think we could dump the waterways. That might be. I don't think we need an ancient civilization. Waters don't need to be sapphire. I think we might have misty floating islands, and they don't need to disappear into the mist, do they? We don't need to say about the colour. We don't need to be illuminated by. So, we've got even fewer words now. In fact, it's about the same length as my original prompt. And how much will it change? Hardly at all. But, if we do a check here, we've got a floating sentinel, fine. High above the clouds, it's high above the clouds. Towering spires and colossal archways, yes, we have those. Circular, yes. Sheer cliffs, yes. I don't think the cliffs need to plunge into the misty depths. Anyway, we'll leave that. You can take most of that, I think. I reckon you can get rid of all that. Flux doesn't care about architecture. Okay, so we took out a big chunk there. And again, we hardly had any change. Now, we did have a change there because the architecture came more simple. So what we need to do is, so we call it a Baroque city. We'll try and spell it right there. Now, we got here another big bit of city. So we could take that out of there and we'll put it in there. So now we've got our Baroque citial aerial view, etc. We have nothing about the what sort of image it is at all. We haven't got into that at all. They haven't bothered with that. So so now we've then we got some more here, which is really, so we can bung that in here. So you see what I'm doing? I'm reorganizing the prompt so it makes a little bit more sense. So there we go. And let's see how that changes it. My point is, of course, is that the huge Baroque LLM prompt really had so much dead wood in it, and none of it was really helping make the image nice at all. And there we are. That's fancied up the architecture again. And we still have every single element, and our prompt is hugely shorter. There we go. See how long we've gone on the video. That's probably enough for this video, and it gives you a sort of some idea of how prompting works, and that all of the purple prose and so forth really doesn't do anything for your image whatsoever. So all of this lot came down to that, and we really didn't get much of a different image. So all of this verbal diarrhea here really wasn't doing a great deal. You only have about 70 tokens for sure, and as soon as you go above that number, then things are going to be left out, and the model will just start ignoring bigger and bigger bits. Okay, so that's it. I hope that was useful and interesting. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.